All right, great. Thank you, Youssef, and thank you, Sages, for allowing me to present here tonight. My name is Adrian Martin, and I will talk to you about the impact of social media on the robotic learning curve. I don't have any financial conflicts, but I do have a disclosure. I did not do this alone, and all these individuals, and probably many more, have contributed with ideas to the shaping of this talk, so thank you very much. Until 2015, I really was not only not a fan of social media, I was kind of against it. And in 2015, something happened. I visited Gene Dickens in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he showed me this great Facebook group called the International Hernia Collaboration, and insisted that I right then and there create a Facebook account and get on social media. And this changed my practice in the last 2 years in ways that are very difficult to explain. It changed my practice and my understanding both of robotics and of hernia surgery. Right now, I am an active member on these 3 professional groups on Facebook. And other than that, I really still don't have any other social media activities. So when Youssef asked me to give this talk, I was obviously a little reluctant at first because clearly I'm not your typical expert that goes and gives talks at prestigious institutions. And really, I have not done this since my remote fellowship days, so thank you very much for putting up with me. At 180 robotic cases, I certainly still am on a learning curve. My practice is in a small hospital in southern Illinois, and I am the first general surgeon to offer robotic surgery at our institution and in our area. So from this standpoint, you know, the surgeon's lounge was certainly a lonely place without much place for interaction and feedback. And as probably is true for many of you, education after finishing training does not come easy or cheap. So if you think a little bit about how we learn in surgical practice, you know, now you want to learn robotics or any other technology, and really we learn in snapshots. So we take, you know, we like this technology, it's great. We go and hear a little more about it at a conference, go to a training course, maybe do a cadaver lab, and do a few proctored cases, whatever your institution policy may be, and then we're on our own. Then we are out in the practice and operating on real people. And what we want to do now, we want to fine-tune and refine these procedures and make them reproducible, make them safe, and also make them time and cost effective. And we want to do this as quick as possible. What we want to do is we want to pull all these snapshots together and make them look like a panoramic photography with its detail, its depth, and its fluidity. And this is where social media comes in for a surgeon. This is where social media can fill in this knowledge gap, because now you can tap into the collective knowledge pool of so many surgeons that participate on these groups. And it's there for you 24/7. It's easily accessible. It is very diverse. It is international, and it is free. And it's almost like now all of a sudden you have a whole surgeon's lounge filled with surgeons that have the same interest as you and obviously more experience. What you really want to do is you really want to change your learning curve from a long, shallow learning curve to a steep learning curve, which, by the way, is the good learning curve. So you want to fill this knowledge gap by assimilating knowledge from many other surgeons. So you want to learn from their experience. What you want to do in the end is to reduce the number of patients that are exposed to potential harm during the time when you evolve from beginner to an expert level of competence. So when I started thinking about the topic, I realized quickly how complex the equation is and how many learning curves there actually are and how many levels of each learning curve. Some of them belong to you as a surgeon, some of them belong to your team, some of them belong to your institution, but all of them ultimately reflect on your performance and on your image as a robotic surgeon. And social media definitely influences each one of these curves. If you think about the technical learning curve, this is probably where social media has the most immediate and direct effect, because now you can take all these posts that you have read, all the questions that you have asked, all the videos that you have seen, and you can apply them in preparation for your case the very next day. I have seen surgeons who actually scrubbed out or came out from the console and looked at their Facebook posts to double check certain things. And it belongs, you know, there's information both regarding the technology, everything from docking to instrumentation, and also information regarding the procedure that you're performing, broad information from diagnosis to dealing with the complications. And then maybe comes the time when you want to post your own videos and you want to get feedback, because, see, video-based learning, especially when it is paired with feedback from peers, is becoming probably one of the most powerful learning tools in the 21st century. And this is a study that had two groups of residents completing a video-recorded robotic task, and one of the groups received feedback through social media from their peers, and this was the group that actually was more comfortable with robotic procedure and significantly greater satisfaction with the learning experience. And I think if you ask any of the surgeons who are on these forums, they will all tell you the same thing. When it comes down to procedure adoption curve, this is a very complex equation as well. I will not go into any details. I will just tell that I think this is a list of procedures that, in my opinion, have been advanced more and promoted by being discussed and presented on social media forums. No wonder, you know, hernia surgery is probably one of the most dynamic fields here as well. So I tried to challenge myself to come up with 3 elements that were of most value for me, for my personal practice when going on social media, and I had to cheat because it was very difficult to edit. I think access to expert advice is extremely important, and you do have access to many of the most powerful and most accomplished surgeons in each field, and they will answer your questions. And when they answer a question on a post, there's several other experts tagging along, so you get a really good discussion. It's almost like being, you know, like Aladdin, having your own lamp and summoning your own little genies. New procedures, there are certainly a number of procedures that I personally would probably have not been aware of or have ignored if it wasn't for social media. Now I know about them. It doesn't mean that I necessarily have to adopt them, but I know they're there, and if I want to learn them, I know where to go to learn. Feedback, validation, encouragement, obviously is a very important factor for anybody who embarks on the journey of learning a new technology. Did it shorten my learning curve? I think it did, but most importantly, what it did for me, it shifted the target. It moved the target. It moved that carrot forward. You know, now I want my learning curve to end not when the training wheels come off, but I want to win the Tour de France. It may be a better surgeon. It makes me want my videos and my procedures to look just as neat and clean as any others out there on those videos. I think it would not be fair to finish this talk without a few caveats. I'll have to say that social media at this time still is an adjunct and definitely not a substitute for your established and solid surgical learning principles. Be careful who you interact with and how, because, you know, many of these surgeons you really don't know. And remember that everything you post is discoverable. Above all, I think that social media really makes it very easy for certain surgeons to kind of get ahead of their learning curve and veer into dangerous territory. So at any time you have to be aware and try to identify where exactly you are on the learning curve. So this being said, thank you very much, and the future is wide open.